What is up, everybody? I am your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty, here once again to bring to you your Match of the Week live stream reaction. You get to see my beautiful and or ugly mug, depending on how you like to view it, or whether you even want to view it. Doesn't really matter to me because that's not what the task at hand is today. What we are going to see today is a precursor to what we're going to see. I'm going to actually bring this down a little bit so you can see a little bit more of me here, get a little framed more in the shot. Okay, what we're going to watch today is Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis at All In, which is, as I found out, owned by Ring of Honor. So all of the footage is Ring of Honor footage. And we're going to see the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship match from All In, September 1st, 2018, the first independently collaborated pay-per-view of professional wrestling, I believe ever, or at least the first successful one. Let's put it that way. Broadcast by a whole variety of people, and Ring of Honor being really at the forefront of that, but NWA got involved, Impact got involved. I mean, everybody, the whole gamut came together to make this, and it all started because Meltzy, our good old friend Uncle Dave Meltzer, said that Cody Rhodes couldn't sell out a 10,000 seat arena. And Cody Rhodes said, before Adam Hangman Page did it, hold my beer. And then they did this. Now, before we get into this matchup, which I'm going to put in the description as we speak here. So allow me to, or not in the description, it's already in the description. I'm going to put it in the chat. So for those of you who are following along, you have got it right there for you. And of course, now this video that I've got here for this Cody Rhodes Nick Aldis, I have not gotten an ad on it. So if you click it, you'll probably get an ad to start. But once you get it, go to 000. And I think we're going to be able to watch this whole thing to the end. I've been trying to find videos that allow us to do that so I don't have to do the timestamps, because that is just like the biggest pain in the ass ever. And realistically speaking, we can watch a lot of WWE matches all off of the full match. Let me give you an ad every 4 minutes or 4.5 or 5. And then let me give you a complete randomization of maybe you'll get 6 seconds unskippables and maybe you'll get a 15 second that you could skip immediately. Who the hell knows? We've tried to do the timer. It doesn't seem like we're able to get a good grip on it. So what we're trying to do is find videos that do not require ads, do not have ads. And I think this one is going to do it. This match with Cody and Nick Aldis is definitely at the height of Cody Rhodes' popularity prior to Double or Nothing with Dustin Rhodes, and then going forward with AEW until the meteoric descent. And really, I've never understood why people use the phrase meteoric rise, because a meteor doesn't go upward. A meteor cascades and rockets downward and then crashes into the earth, causing damage and destruction to many. And while we haven't seen any damage and destruction, we have certainly seen a meteoric fall in the popularity and enthusiasm around Cody Rhodes. And so, because we're going to discuss that this week on the podcast, which you will find on Friday as it stands, we're going to have that nice and edited for you and ready to go. Until then, we are going to watch this matchup so we could see what it was like before we all didn't like Cody. Because it's such a weird phenomenon, because in one hand, I really liked and respected Cody when he started AEW, but then he started opening his mouth about all the little heels and baby faces, and then every time that he would say something, I was just like, dude, you have the worst opinion for someone who is the son of a plumber I could possibly come up with. And I like Cody's in-ring ability a lot. That's not taking anything away from his athletic ability, his in-ring ability. But his demeanor is just so off-putting. So, as a result, what we're going to do is we're going to watch this, and we're going to have ourselves a good old time right here. And I'm going to turn that down, and that, oh, good, that helped. So, the way this is, so you all know, I've got this laptop screen also on a monitor over here, which is why when you see me watch the match, I'm going to be looking that way, because that's where the screen is. So, just so you're all aware, I assume you're not going to be watching me. That's always been my assumption, is that you're not actually watching me watch this match, that you're actually watching the match and listening to my audio along with the match. I mean, not that I'm not entertaining just sitting here watching a match, but, you know, the whole idea is that we get to watch along. You know, we get to watch from the start and see what happens from there. So let's take a dive into this. Definitely an interesting moment. But before we get into full-fledged into it, I do want to pull up the All-In card and just break down what the whole match was, like the whole thing was. I personally thought this was the best match on the show, but remember, this was not the main event. Let's get in. Now, there was a lot of people in this match, in this show, but let's just break this down. All right. So we've got in the first couple of matches, we have SCU, Kazarian and Scorpio Sky defeated the Briscoes in a 12-minute tag team match. There was a battle royal, a 19-person over-budget battle royal to determine the number one contender for the Ring of Honor World Championship, won by Chico El Luchador, who was Flip Gordon. Matt Cross defeated MJF. Now, Matt Cross, for those of you who don't know, is the same guy who was Son of Havoc in Lucha Underground, who I always really, really liked, and I never really saw any of his, American work, but I imagine that match was probably pretty good. Christopher Daniels defeated Stephen Amell. That was a really fun match, a surprisingly good match. Tessa Blanchard defeated Britt Baker, Chelsea Green, and Madison Rayne in a four-corner survival match. I can't imagine that was that good. Then, of course, the match that we have here, Cody, who had not gotten the name to his rights back, who had not gotten the rights to his name back, who had not gotten the name to his rights back, Cody defeated Brandy Rhodes, I'm fucking this up. Cody with Brandy Rhodes, Diamond Dallas Page, Glacier, and Tommy Dreamer in his corner, faced off against Nick Aldis and Cody. For those of you who aren't surprised, who have already know this, Cody ended up winning. So Cody beats Nick Aldis with Jeff Jarrett, Sam Shaw, Sean Daivari, and Tim Storm on his side. Hangman Page defeated Joey Janela with Penelope Ford before the Dick Druids came out. And yeah, I'm just going to let y'all watch that. We're not going to do that one. Jay Lethal with Lanny Poffo defeated Flip Gordon with Brandy Rhodes. I don't know why Brandy Rhodes was with Flip Gordon for the Ring of Honor World title. Kenny Omega defeated Penta El Zero Miedo, in which Chris Jericho came in dressed like Penta and revealed himself, and then that eventually led to the matches that they had, in AEW. Kazuchika Okada defeated Marty Scurll in a 26-minute match. Good gravy. And then the main event. You ready for this one? This is how you know this was an indie show main event. The Golden Elite, Kota Ibushi and the Young Bucks defeated Bandito, Rey Fenix, and Rey Mysterio. While that is a fun team, what the hell is that last few matches? But that's AEW. You want to say this was the precursor to AEW, and look how many of those people, how many cards in AEW's early going looked exactly like this, more or less, with a few people in and a few people out, but it's really not that far off the mark. So, as with most AEW shows, there's one good piece of real solid wrestling that comes in, which is the old school American style, and it's in the form of Cody and Nick Aldis. So, let's not delay it any longer. We've got ourselves, hopefully you've got this already queued up and ready to go in here. I'm already queued up and ready to go. And when I do release this, what I'm going to try to do is because I've been starting to incorporate chapters for YouTube, is that I will have this opening intro. If you want to just jump right to the match, I'm going to have this so you can just cut right to the match. You don't need to hear me talking the whole thing. But if you like to hear me talking through the whole thing, I appreciate that too. Now it's time to get this going. And remember, we've got lots of live streams in the future. You want to be on top of the ball, on top of the game. Actually, if things are going the way I think they're going, there's going to be a lot of significant changes coming to not only the Court-Martail podcast, but to a lot of things going on in your Colonial Champion's life. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted. But for now, I'm going to do what we always do. We're going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. When I say let's go and point at you, then you hit the button and I hit the button and we have ourselves a good old-fashioned watch along, shall we? Let's get it going. 0-0-0. Cody versus Nick Aldis, all in NWA World's Heavyweight title. We're at the very beginning. We are ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Now, there's going to be a little bit of precursor before this. Referee Earl Hebner in here. Now, I cannot remember who the in-ring announcer is. Oh, Bobby Cruz, I guess. AJ immediately just said it. And, of course, because Brandy needs to get her shots in, she's going to come in. None of the other people can go in with Cody, but Brandy totally can because Brandy's got to be on camera. Oh, that's right. And Cody was a member of the Bullet Club. Excuse me one moment. I'm grabbing my gallon jug of water. Right? He's not Cody Rhodes. Now, I will say this. The commentary team in this matchup is the absolute worst. It is Excalibur, Ian Riccaboni, Brent, I can't even remember his name, but he's really bad. And a fourth commentator who I don't remember the name of either, but this combination of these four are like the worst. The worst. And this wasn't even Nick Aldis' big title reign. The something like 1,200 days, wasn't it? Something like that. He had an incredibly long run of over 1,000 days. I think he was champion for an excruciatingly long time, which I think was really nice. Honestly, to give Nick Aldis a 3-year reign, I think was really worth it. Because he's a guy who definitely deserves it. Unfortunately, I don't think that he never went really big, and that's kind of a shame because I think he always had the capability. Maybe he didn't want to. I like this Earl having this also was like part of this like make it feel like a fight kind of deal. Is like with Earl Hebner being there, I'm gonna ref this, keep it clean, you know, the Mills Lane, let's get it out. And it is also nice to see Earl reffing the 10 pounds of gold. Here in Chicago in the Sears Center in nearby Chicago, Illinois, but not necessarily in Chicago. And boy, if you could imagine what this would be like with JR and I mean, King would be cool, but I would love to see JR and I don't know who I'd put in this as second. I mean, JR and Cornette would always be fun, but I don't know if they do it. Not on an indie show like this, because there's not a chance in hell that Jim Cornette would ever be on. Now, nice shake of the hand. And that was kind of proof because all this wasn't necessarily heel yet, although he was going to turn heel not too long after this because we had the NWA Power Show, which ended up surfacing not too long after this. And I really did enjoy NWA Power until Dave Lagana. And I'm not going to get into that, but a nice collar and elbow tie-up. I'm going to try and do some commentary so that you don't need to listen to all of these guys. Like, for example, there's going to be a spot later on where somebody says, oh, I don't want to skip over this part, though. I really like this. Cody does the the Stardust cartwheel, and then that's the babyface thing, and then Nick Aldis relaxes in the corner. And of course gets the boos. Perfect body language. Definitely read exactly how the crowd was going to take this. Now, but anyway, some of this matchup. First of all, one of these guys, this guy Brent, sounds like Psychic Pebbles, but with maybe like a third of the personality. And definitely a good set of chain wrestling here. But there's a move later on that Ric Flair does all the time. And one of these idiots is like, wow, way to honor Dusty when Cody does that move. You know, we'll get to it. They're really bad. And Excalibur, weirdly, Excalibur wasn't even the worst in this matchup. Not that he was the greatest, but he wasn't the worst. And boy, what an aura this show had at the time. You know, this was something so completely different because WWE had really been the game in town, especially after Dixie Carter destroyed Impact. There was nothing for a good chunk of time. So this was like such a refreshing view, you know, back 4 years ago. And it led to AEW. That drop kick wasn't necessarily the and Tope Suicida, that looks fine. But man, just to think about like how people loved. I listened to the babyface chants for Cody. And you know this, yeah, this was and then 2019, Cody faces Kota Ibushi. No, that was 2018. I'm sorry, that was the beginning of 2018 at Wrestle Kingdom. Good matchup though. Cody had a great 2018. That was probably his best year. He comes in 2019, does the double or nothing, does a couple other things, and which were also very good. But both of these guys very old school workers, so and they took their time with this. You know, they didn't really rush anything. They left time to sell. Not that everything was great, but at least they took their time. They shot this beautifully. Did the Ring of Honor crew, because I think that's who was on the actual on the camera work. I always liked that move, that vaulting Irish whip into the corner where you use your entire body weight and the opponent kind of just like takes an exaggerated bump from that. I always liked the look of that. It always looked so devastating. Nice fisherman plex. God, this commentary is just brutal. I'm actually going to turn it down because I heard it before, and a lot of it is people. You know what my big problem with this commentary team is that these guys sound uh, they sound like fans, but they sound like fans who have no prior knowledge of any of the people involved. Like, like this is the first time they've heard of half of these people, and they're just trying to piece together what they're supposed to be about. And it's just it didn't work for me. Riccaboni was good calling the play-by-play. You know, he wasn't too insufferable, but even still, there was no one with experience here to lead the commentary team, even though apparently Don Callis was on it. Sean Mooney was doing interviews later. So they got some names for this show, which was very cool. Back when Cody's drop down uppercut was a pop, double clothesline. It's interesting they did the double clothesline and they'll do the double crossbody here in a little bit. Oh, we missed one of my favorite moments of this whole video is right at the very beginning. It's one of these comments. Oh, the super kick. The super kick that was so very clearly nowhere near his head. All right, now I was told to look at this because apparently, oh, he's right. Skylar, you're right. Oh man. So okay, you're gonna understand what I mean by Skylar, you're right. When you hear the podcast, because we've already recorded the podcast. When you hear the podcast, you're going to understand what I mean. That crossbody did not look very good at all. Yeah, that crossbody did not look very. And you know what? The double crossbody itself wasn't the problem, but the setup was terrible. That punch was great though, with a great, pretty much an elbow that took Cody right out of the game. Now While we have this massive break in the action as Cody tries to blade and has significant difficulty, so they bring Dallas out. And while we have this time, which we do have, trust me, we have like a solid like minute and a half to 2 minutes. Of course, they cut the Brandy because gotta get her shots in. But anyway, at the very beginning of this video, one of the commentators, right as one of these guys was coming out or saying it was, said, and I quote, "This is a moment in time." There was no, excuse me, there was no follow-up. Brandy now looking mildly concerned on the other side of the ring. Got to make sure she's got her shots. Earl Hebner. And now, one thing I will say the commentary did do well here in this interim is also explain Earl Hebner is being, showing some discretion with the count, trying to cover it just to make sure, because if Cody can't compete, it is what it is. Oh, yeah. And then Hebner does the X, which is just stupid because I know that they did it just so Dallas can help him blade because Cody couldn't get it. And he's been laying on his stomach this entire time, totally not blading. And when he comes up, you're gonna realize that what he did worked the first time. He just ended up cutting himself a couple more times. Yeah, and in any case, but yeah, that the setup for that crossbody was really bad because it was like it worked, but it didn't work. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention this to you guys. There are going to be these weird moments in this video where there's just black screen for like 10 seconds. Cody got back in the ring, obviously. And now, of course, we got that Cody juice. And God, these commentators are the absolute worst. Now, leave it to the NWA title to be like the most resembling of pro wrestling in the whole deal. Although I will have to say the Penta Omega match wasn't terrible. It was different, but it wasn't terrible. Moonsault here. Yep. Off the mark. And all this, even though he was a babyface, he was still working heel beautifully. Not by cheating or anything like that. He was just doing moves that were getting him more heel heat, but not necessarily being a heel, which is, credit to how good Aldis is. Nice top rope all the way slam or second rope all the way slam. Pretty sure that the Excalibur called that a blockbuster because he's an asshat. And you never want to be an asshat. Now, this spot that they're about to do, I don't think this makes much sense. Or no, I'm sorry, not this spot. It's a spot coming up. I'm sorry. It's with all this later, but Cody hasn't made the comeback yet. So I'm jumping the gun here. I'm not going to try to do much more than that. And trying to get, of course, the clover leaf. Oh, yes, that's right. Well, here's the figure four. The one that Dusty used to do. Reminiscent of his old man. It's not reminiscent of his old man. It's reminiscent of Ric Flair, you total knob. And this is what I'm talking about. This is a great match. Well, this is a good, very good match. I wouldn't call it great, but it was a very good match with dog shit commentary. And it really kind of ruined the whole concept of the thing, I thought. And Cody has some pretty good selling. I don't know if I'd call him a Ricky Morton, but he sells pretty well. All this I thought did a really good job selling in this match as well. Because it wasn't too much, but then when he needed to sell for Cody, he definitely oversold. Excuse me. Oh, and now we got more black. We just got more black screen. Nothing really happened there because it was mostly set up. And then that running power slam. It was all right. And a lot of people wanted this to be Bret Hart and Davey, but it wasn't Bret Hart and Davey. It was, And you'll see with the finish, like, because this is like, they mentioned it here. That's why I said it, like Davey Boy doing the running power slam. They remembered Davey Boy did a running power slam, but they didn't remember that Dusty never really used the figure four. I don't understand. Now, of course, Brandy holding his hand. That's right. Cody can't survive without the power of Brandy. And now Aldis breaking up the count because he's not going to have it end in a count out. But he's still being kind of prickish about it, which is exactly what he needs to be. He's a baby face, but he's getting a little familiar. Oh, and then this. Now, this was apparently a botch, but I give credit to Cody because he covered up so well by saying that his back hurt, even though he's wearing a weight belt. I totally okay. All right, fair. That does kind of ruin that set of logic. He sold his weight belt, and now we're getting the Alabama Slam we were supposed to. And okay, now it definitely is more of a botch. Now that I know that I saw that he sold his belt, but at least Cody sold. At least he knew to cover somehow. Credit to him for doing that. And I guess the back was the first thing you'd think of as why that wouldn't work. So, credit to him for trying. And Cody going to try and super kick here. Or no, I think he's going for a disaster kick. I don't remember. Yep, disasters. He likes disasters. That's definitely true. Power bomb? Power bomb. Vicious power bomb. And then turning into the clover leaf. The thing is, too, it's like, I feel like Aldis could have sat down a little bit more on this to make it look a little bit more convincing. Because I feel like that also hurt the, it also kind of hurt how this finish felt. Not like that's stopping Cody Rhodes, though. Oh, and now he's sitting down on it. People don't realize just how much quad strength it takes to maintain sitting in that position when you're executing a move like this. And Aldis, you could tell Aldis is definitely not got this attached the way that he probably wants. And there was really no one who could put that kind of either clover leaf on or sharpshooter quite like Brett or Dean Malenko. Malenko's clover leaf was incredible. If only he had some charisma. He was a hell of a technician, though. And of course, Brandy's gotta get her shots in. Make sure she is in the shot. That's right, Cody. Draw from Brandy. Now we're getting near the spot I was gonna say before. Are we seeing another power bomb? I think. Oh no, right. We're getting this weird ass pile driver. Yeah, I don't know where this like squeeze the thighs thing came in that he did, because I feel like that would cause more damage. But yeah, that was a very strange. It was a very strange pile driver, and now he's going up to the top. Now here's my issue with this spot. The person who's illegal in this situation is Brandy. So why is Earl Hebner more concerned about Nick Aldis than he is about Brandy Rhodes? That's all I'm saying. Now, still, like he's telling her to go, but he's still telling Aldis when he really should be focusing on Brandy. If we're talking about people who should be in the ring and people who shouldn't be in the ring, this didn't make any sense. Because this looked as a result, this looked more set up. Did it work? Was what was trying to happen? Yes. Because the heat that he got out of that was perfect. I'm not sure Aldis knew, although I would say that wasn't timed beautifully. But he's like, oh, snap. I did not mean to do that. Yeah. Again, because Aldis is still a babyface at this point, he's like, oh, damn. That was my bad. Like, I don't necessarily mind the going to protect Cody, but I really would have. She shouldn't have been in the ring for that long. She should have come in at the last second and done that. You know, that's my issue with that. It's like, why have her in the ring and then have Earl have that? Just, again, it just buries Earl, and that's like, again. And look what he did. Look what Earl did. Look what he's like. Oh, you don't stay, get down from there. Oh, he jumped, and he just put his hands down. It's like, dude. I like the idea of the spot. The execution could have been better. And then that disaster kick that Nick did. None of Cody's kicks got anywhere near Nick Aldis. Crossroads 1, 2, 3, but like, oh no, that's right. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. And he still will cover. I mean, Earl should be covering him again, you know, doing more counts. Why? Yeah, he stayed there laid down, but he was still covering him. So why didn't he? Yeah, 1, 2, kick out, and then he lays back down. That should have been another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Earl, what's happening here? What's going on? Man, I liked this match I really liked this match the first time I watched it. I enjoyed the match the second time I watched it, but God, I'm finding so many holes now. You know, and you're going to hear my review of it. I mean, this still was pretty good with the 1, 2. I can't knock the match construct itself, but man, there are definitely some issues I had with it that I didn't think I would have with it. Oh, is this where he tries to do the vertebraker thing? Yeah, he doesn't get it though. I think, yeah. Flips over. There is another count. Oh, right. The leads into the crossroads. Oh, sunset flip right, and then the cover up. And again, I think that was just a little too. It was just a little too slow. You know, it wasn't the way that it was noticed before. And I mean, and this was still a great moment for Cody. The crowd loved it. Cody got to cry in front of the 10 pounds of gold because he won his dad's belt. Again, this was a great moment, but man, that match did not have the structural soundness it had the structural soundness, but it had some very glaring issues that I think I did not see in the first couple times I watched this. But I mean, none of Cody's kicks landed. Cody didn't get Cody it took forever to blade. There was a lot of ref stoppage. I mean, this really was everything. All the pieces were there, but I think that the crowd was fairly easily. I don't want to say they were easily amused, but this was the closest thing to pro wrestling on the show, without a doubt. That was definitely the closest thing to pro wrestling on the show. But with any case, this was when Cody was so popular and over enough where people didn't really care. I mean, not that they did with that kind of audience. It's an indie show, but still, this was when Cody was on top of the world and would even rise to even taller heights before coming slowly back down like Icarus. He just soared too close to the sun, and now he got burned. But you can hear about Cody's rise and fall and apparently a move to WWE. You can hear all about it on the podcast on Friday, so stay tuned for that. Overall final thoughts about this match? It was better in my mind than it was after seeing it a few times. But still very good moments. I enjoyed it. Very well paced. But yeah, it had its issues. It definitely had its issues. But as do we all. But in any case, that's going to do it for me here on this live stream. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell button to all. So every time you see a live stream or a podcast go up, you will be the first to know. And until then, thank you all for watching this live stream. We will see you on Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Take care. We'll be right back.